Ambassador Haynewell watched the morning light reflect off the crystalline spires of the Galactic Council building. The massive structure towered over Central City on Centauri Prime, its transparent walls changing colors with the rising sun. She straightened her dark blue diplomatic uniform and touched the silver Earth emblem on her collar for luck. After 50 years of humanity proving themselves to the galaxy, today's meeting would test her patience like never before. Ambassador, the Council is ready to hear Earth's petition, said Technical Director Du Hyun, standing beside her. His usually calm face showed signs of stress. This was their third attempt to get approval for advanced terraforming technology, and they both knew what was likely to happen. "Let's get this over with," Haynewell said, walking through the grand entrance. The council chamber was huge, with seats rising in circles like an ancient Roman arena. Representatives from over 200 species filled the room, their different shapes, sizes, and colors creating a living rainbow. But Haynewell's eyes were fixed on the 12 High Counselors at the top level, especially High Counselor Xylith. The tall, silver-skinned alien looked down at her with 4 eyes that seemed to hold endless wisdom and endless judgment. Haynewell had come to hate that look over the years. It was the same look parents gave to small children who asked for things they weren't ready for. "The Council recognizes Earth's Ambassador Haynewell." Xylith's voice echoed through the chamber. "You may present your petition." Haynewell stepped onto the speaker's platform, which lifted her 20 feet into the air so everyone could see her. She activated her datapad and began the presentation she had practiced 100 times. "Honorable Council, Earth and its colonies have prepared extensive proof of our readiness for Class A terraforming technology. In the past 50 years, humanity has established successful colonies on Mars, Venus, and Europa. We have turned dead worlds into living ones using our own methods. We have maintained peace among our colonies and helped 5 other young species develop their first space programs." She showed holographic images of Earth's achievements: the massive green valleys of Mars, the floating cities of Venus, the underwater research stations of Europa. "Our scientists have independently developed technologies that match Council standards in many areas. We have proven ourselves responsible and capable." Murmurs filled the chamber. Some species nodded in agreement, but many showed signs of disapproval. Haynewell noticed the Arxian representative watching everything carefully with its large owl-like eyes. High Counselor Xylith raised a hand for silence. "Ambassador Haynewell, no one doubts humanity's impressive progress. Your species has indeed advanced faster than any in our records. However, speed is not the same as maturity." Haynewell felt her face grow hot, but she kept her voice steady. "With respect, High Counselor, what more proof of maturity do you require? We have followed every guideline, passed every test." "And yet," Xylith interrupted, "your species still shows concerning traits. Your emotions run hot. You rush forward without proper consideration. Just last cycle, your military ships responded to a minor border dispute with the Centaurians with a show of force." "We were protecting our trading vessels," Haynewell said. "The Centaurian ships were harassing our merchants. The Council would have handled the situation." Another High Counselor said, "Your independent action shows you are not ready for greater responsibility." Do Hyun stepped forward. "If I may speak." After receiving a nod, he continued, "The Council's own guidelines state that member species may defend their legitimate trade interests. We followed those guidelines exactly." Technical Director Xylith said with a smile that didn't reach any of their 4 eyes, "Perhaps humans would benefit from another century of observation before being granted full member privileges. These things cannot be rushed." Haynewell felt something break inside her. Another century. She looked around the chamber, seeing the same patronizing look she had endured for years. Humanity had rebuilt their entire civilization to match Council standards. They had learned dozens of alien languages, adapted their technology, changed their laws, and it was never enough. "High Counselor," she said, her voice barely controlled, "humanity has waited 50 years. We have contributed more technological advances in that time than some full members have in 5 centuries. We have shared our unique innovations in medicine, entertainment, and art. We have proven ourselves over and over. And you will have the chance to prove yourselves again, Xylith said soothingly. The council's decision is final. This meeting is concluded. The speaker's platform lowered, and Haenul walked out of the chamber with her back straight and her hands shaking. Du-hyun followed silently until they reached the Earth Embassy building nearby. Inside her office, Haenul finally allowed herself to sit down. The room's large windows showed the beautiful alien city outside, but right now she couldn't appreciate it. Du-hyun poured them both a drink. Real Earth whiskey, not the synthetic alien versions. What do we do now? He asked, sitting across from her desk. Haenul took a sip, letting the familiar burn clear her head. Contact Commander Taeyang and Dr. Yunwoo. Tell them to meet us here tonight. Don't use the regular communication channels. Do-hyun raised his eyebrows but nodded. He understood the need for secrecy. The council claimed they didn't spy on member species, but nobody really believed that. As the sun set over Centauri Prime, 3 more people arrived at the embassy. Commander Taeyang wore his formal military uniform, the stars on his collar marking him as humanity's highest-ranking officer in this sector. Dr. Yunwoo looked tired, probably from another late night in her laboratory. The final guest was Chief Engineer Jae-hoo, who had helped build most of Earth's colonial infrastructure. They gathered in Haenul's secure conference room, where special devices blocked any possible surveillance. The room's plain white walls and simple furniture gave no hint of the historic conversation about to take place. I assume you've all heard about today's council meeting, Haenul said, standing at the head of the table. Another rejection, Taeyang said. Not surprising. They'll never see us as equals. They see us as clever children, Yunwoo added. No matter what we achieve, they'll always find a reason to keep us dependent on them. Haenul looked at each person in turn. These were some of humanity's finest leaders, people she had worked with for years. She trusted them completely. I have a proposal, she said, one that will either secure humanity's future or end all our careers, possibly both. She pressed a button, and a hologram appeared above the table, showing Earth and its colonies. We've played by their rules for 50 years. We've smiled and bowed, and asked politely for technology. We could have developed ourselves by now if they hadn't restricted us. I think it's time we stopped asking. The room was silent as her words sank in. Jae-hoo leaned forward. What exactly are you suggesting, Ambassador? I'm suggesting we leave. Haenul's words fell like stones into still water. Not just the council, but this entire sector of space. We take Earth, our colonies, everything, and we go where they can't follow. That's impossible, Du-hyun said automatically. Then he frowned. Isn't it? Dr. Yunwoo had a strange look on her face. Maybe not. My team has been working on something. Unofficial. A new form of faster-than-light travel. The council thinks their jump gate network is the only way to move between stars quickly, but we found another method. Is it ready? Taeyang asked. With proper funding and resources. 6 months, maybe less. Jae-hoo was already making calculations on his datapad. We'd need massive new manufacturing facilities, hidden ones, and a way to upgrade our ships without the council noticing. We can do it, Taeyang said. We've been running independent military exercises for years. We can hide a lot of activity that way. Haenul let them talk, watching the idea take root and grow. These were people who could make impossible things happen. She had chosen them carefully. If we do this, she said finally, there's no going back. We'll be abandoning 50 years of diplomatic relations. Many species will see it as a betrayal, and others will admire us for it. Yunwoo said, the younger species are just as frustrated with the council as we are. This could change everything. They talked through the night, planning and arguing and planning again. By morning, Project Exodus was born. As Henul watched the sunrise paint the council building in pretty colors, she felt strangely peaceful. They had given her that final rejection just when she needed it most, when humanity was ready to take its greatest step forward. She picked up her datapad and began composing a message to Earth's government. The council had always warned humanity not to rush things. They were about to learn why. Do-hyun, she called to her assistant. Schedule another council meeting for 6 months from today. Tell them we want to apologize for our emotional response and discuss a new approach to membership. He gave her a knowing look. A new approach indeed. Henul smiled. In 6 months, the galaxy would learn that humanity had grown up, and grown-up species didn't ask permission to find their own path among the stars. She looked at the Earth emblem on her collar again. Soon it would represent not just one planet, but humanity's first truly independent interstellar civilization. The Council could keep their patronizing wisdom and carefully controlled progress. Humanity was ready to run. The underground facility stretched for miles beneath the Martian surface. Chief Engineer Ji-Hoo walked through the massive construction site, watching robots and workers build what would soon be humanity's largest manufacturing plant. The air smelled of fresh metal and welding smoke, even through his protective mask. Section 3 is ahead of schedule, his assistant reported, hurrying to keep up with his long strides. But we're having trouble hiding the power readings. Ji-Hoo nodded, stopping to inspect a newly installed power core. Route everything through the old mining systems. The Council thinks we're just expanding our mineral operations. They never bothered to learn how our mining actually works. Similar scenes play out across every human colony. While the Council watched the surface, humanity built its future underground. Sometimes, Ji-Hoo wanted to laugh at how easy it was to fool their supposed supervisors. The Council's arrogance had become humanity's greatest advantage. In her lab on Europa, Dr. Yunwoo stared at test results that should have been impossible. The young physicist, Mireille, stood beside her, dark circles under her eyes suggesting she hadn't slept in days. "Run it again," Yunwoo said. Mireille shook her head. "I've run it 10 times. The quantum shield works. It's not just as good as Council technology, it's better. Their shields try to block energy. Ours absorbs it and turns it back into power." Yunwoo touched the floating hologram, watching the simulation play out again. A ship protected by their new shields took a direct hit from a Council weapon. Instead of breaking, the shield grew stronger. "How did we miss this before?" she wondered aloud. "We didn't miss it," Mireille said, bringing up old research files. "The Council's teaching methods pushed us to think about shields in their way. Once we ignored their basic principles, the solution was obvious. They'd been doing it wrong for centuries." Yunwoo smiled. "Upload the designs to the secure network. Every ship we're building needs these shields." She paused, looking at her tired colleague. "And then get some sleep, Mireille. We need your brain working for the next breakthrough." On Mars, Commander Tai Yang watched the first of the new ships rise from its underground berth. Its dark hull absorbed light in a way that made the eyes want to slide away from it. Another gift from their research teams. The ship was larger than anything humanity had built before, but it would hide in plain sight thanks to its special coating. "Beautiful, isn't she?" his second-in-command said. "Hard to believe we built this in 6 months." "We built 30 of them in 6 months, Tai Yang corrected, with more coming. The Council thinks we're replacing our old cargo ships one at a time. They have no idea we're building an entire fleet." He touched his command tablet, bringing up the status of other secret shipyards. Green lights blinked across the display. Everything on schedule. Humanity's new navy was growing in the shadows, waiting for the day it would show itself to the galaxy. Back on Centauri Prime, Henul kept up appearances. She attended council meetings, filed reports, and smiled politely at Silat's condescending speeches. The council had no reason to suspect anything was wrong. Why would they? Humans were just children playing at being a spacefaring species. Only the Arctians seemed to notice something was different. Their ambassador, with those large owl-like eyes that missed nothing, cornered Hainul after a trade meeting. "Your shipping patterns have changed," the Arctian said quietly. "More raw materials moving between colonies, more power being used in old facilities. One might think you were building something." Hainul met those knowing eyes calmly. "We're expanding our mining operations. All the permits are filed properly." "Of course," the Arctian said, "though I notice your mining materials used in ship construction. A lot of them. We had a large merchant fleet to maintain." The Arctian made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Indeed. I look forward to seeing how you maintain it." Then they walked away, leaving Hainul to wonder if she had just spoken to a future ally or a potential problem. In her office that evening, Hainul received an encrypted message from Earth's government. She read it 3 times to be sure. "Project Exodus approved at highest levels. All colonies have confirmed participation. Timeline approved. Additional funding authorized. Good hunting, Ambassador." She sent her own encrypted messages to her team. The next phase could begin. On Venus, in the floating cities above the clouds, Technical Director Du Hyun coordinated the greatest supply chain shuffle in human history. Ships moved between colonies in seemingly random patterns, but each course was carefully planned. A little materials here, some technology there, never enough in one place to draw attention. "Sir," his logistics chief said one day, "the Centaurians are asking questions about the increased traffic near their space." "Send them our filed flight plans," Du Hyun said, "and remind them about the trade agreement they signed last year. The one that lets us move ships through their sector without detailed cargo inspections." He smiled to himself. The council races had signed so many agreements with humanity over the years, giving little conveniences to their young friends. Now those agreements helped hide humanity's greatest secret. The work continued day and night. In hidden facilities across human space, new technologies took shape. Ships grew in underground bays. Weapons that shouldn't have been possible were tested in remote areas. And through it all, humanity's leaders kept up their act of being the Council's well-behaved students. 3 months into the project, Mei Ray made another breakthrough. She burst into Yun Wu's office, her hair wild, and her eyes bright with excitement. "We don't need their jump gates," she said without preamble. "I found a way around them. We can make our own FTL corridors." Yun Wu quickly sealed the office and activated the security fields. "Show me." Mei Ray's hands flew over the holographic display, showing equations and models. The Council's jump gates work by punching through space in specific ways. But space is already full of natural weak points. If we map them properly and use the right energy signature, we can make our own doors, Yun Wu finished, understanding filling her face. "Mei Ray, this changes everything. How soon can we test it?" "We already did. Small scale, but it worked. We sent a probe through yesterday. It traveled 10 light years in 3 seconds. The implications were staggering. The Council controlled all long-distance space travel through their jump gate network. Without access to the gates, no species could easily reach other stars. It was one of their strongest holds on their member races, and humanity had just found a way to break that hold completely. "Get me Commander Tai Yang," Yun Wu said. "The new ships need to be modified for this technology immediately." As the project entered its 5th month, things began moving faster. The first full fleet of new ships gathered in a hidden formation behind Europa, using the moon's bulk to hide from casual observation. Engineers worked around the clock to install the FTL technology in every vessel. Jihu's manufacturing plants reached full production, churning out everything humanity would need for its greatest journey. Weapons, shields, engines, and other devices that the Council thought were far beyond human capability rolled off automated assembly lines. Hainul kept the Council distracted with a series of minor diplomatic issues. She filed complaints about trade routes, requested reviews of old agreements, and generally kept the bureaucrats too busy with paperwork to notice what was really happening. The Arxian ambassador caught her eye during another council meeting and gave her a slight nod. Haynul had the strange feeling they knew exactly what humanity was planning, and approved. Then came the message everyone had been waiting for. Dr. Yunwu confirmed that the mass teleportation technology was ready. They could move entire planets through their new FTL corridors. The exodus wasn't just possible, it was guaranteed to work. Haynul gathered her team one last time in the secure room at the embassy. Commander Tai Yang reported that the fleet was ready. Ji Hu confirmed all production goals had been met. Du Hyun showed that their supplies and resources were safely stored. And Dr. Yunwu promised that their new home was already selected, a cluster of stars far from Council space, perfect for humanity's next chapter. 1 month, Haynul said, looking at her trusted friends. 1 more month of smiling and playing our roles. Then we show the galaxy who we really are. They raised their glasses in a silent toast. 50 years of being treated like children was about to end. Humanity had learned everything the Council could teach, and then gone far beyond those lessons. As she walked home that night, Haynul looked up at the stars visible through Centauri Prime's atmospheric dome. Soon humanity would have a new view of the galaxy, from a place where no one could tell them to wait, to be patient, to know their place. She thought about what she would say to the Council on that final day. The words had to be perfect. Not angry, not boastful, but clear and strong. The galaxy needed to understand that humanity hadn't just caught up to the Council races. In many ways, they had quietly surpassed them. The next few weeks would test everyone's nerve and patience. But after 50 years of being underestimated, humanity had learned to play a long game. The Council thought they were teaching humanity to be careful and methodical. Instead, they had taught humanity how to plan the greatest rebellion in galactic history. Haynul smiled up at the stars. The Council's greatest mistake was thinking they had time to slowly guide humanity's development. They never understood that humans didn't measure progress in centuries. When humans decided to move forward, they moved like a storm. 1 more month, she thought. 1 month until the storm breaks. The morning of humanity's greatest revelation began like any other on Centauri Prime. The crystalline council building sparkled in the sunlight, and various alien species went about their business in the busy streets below. No one noticed anything unusual about the human ships in orbit. No one paid attention to the slight power fluctuations across human colonies, and certainly no one suspected that this day would change galactic history forever. Ambassador Haynul stood in her office, looking at her reflection in the window. She had chosen to wear Earth's oldest style of diplomatic uniform today, the classic blue and gold design from humanity's first contact with the Council. It felt right to end things wearing the same uniform they had worn at the beginning. All stations report ready, Commander Tai Yang said from the secure communication line. The fleet is in position. Dr. Yunwu's team has all systems prepared. We're just waiting for your signal. Haynul touched the Earth emblem on her collar one last time. Begin Operation Exodus. Across human space, hidden technology activated all at once. On Mars, huge doors opened in the ground as ships rose from their underground berths. The rings around Saturn lit up with energy as hidden stations revealed themselves. Every human colony suddenly showed power readings that made Council sensors scream warnings. In her lab on Europa, Dr. Yunwu and Mireille activated the new quantum shields. A bubble of shimmering energy surrounded every human settlement, every ship, every station. The shields were unlike anything the Council had ever seen. They bent light in strange ways and absorbed energy in patterns that should have been impossible. Shield network is stable, Mireille reported, her fingers dancing over the controls. All colonies protected. They can't touch us now. In orbit around Earth, Commander Tai Yang stood on the bridge of humanity's new flagship. The massive vessel had been hidden in pieces, assembled in secret, and kept invisible until this moment. Now it appeared in all its glory, along with hundreds of other ships that seemed to come from nowhere. All ships, battle formations, he ordered. Remember, defensive positions only. We're not here to fight. We're here to leave. But if anyone tries to stop us, show them what humanity can really do." The council chamber erupted in chaos as reports flooded in. High Counselor Xylith stared at the readings in disbelief as more and more human ships appeared on the screens. Ships that shouldn't exist. Technology that humans shouldn't have. Power readings that made no sense. What is the meaning of this? Xylith demanded as Newell walked calmly into the chamber. "What have you done?" Newell took her place on the speaker's platform, but this time she didn't wait for it to rise. Instead, she activated a device on her wrist. A hologram appeared around her, letting everyone in the chamber see and hear her clearly. "Honored Council," she said, her voice steady and strong. "For 50 years, humanity has played by your rules. We have smiled and nodded as you treated us like children. We have accepted your restrictions, your limitations, your constant reminders of our young species status. Today that ends." On screens all around the chamber, images appeared showing human achievements, the quantum shields glowing with impossible energy, the new ships demonstrating technology that the Council had deemed theoretical, manufacturing plants producing devices that humans supposedly couldn't understand. "While you were busy teaching us to crawl," Newell continued, "we learned to run. While you restricted our access to advanced technology, we built our own, better than yours in many ways. You thought you were carefully guiding our development. Instead, you taught us the most valuable lesson of all, never to depend on anyone else for our progress." Technical Director Du Hyun stepped forward, adding his own report to the display. "Human ships no longer need your jump gates. We have developed our own FTL technology. Our quantum shields make your weapons useless against us, and our manufacturing capabilities exceed anything you thought we possessed." The council members whispered among themselves, some angry, some afraid, some clearly impressed. The Arxian ambassador sat quietly, those owl-like eyes showing what might have been satisfaction. "This is a violation of every agreement." Xylith stood, all four eyes blazing. "You have developed restricted technology. You have hidden military assets. You have deceived the Council. We have protected our interests," Newell corrected, "just as you taught us to do. We study your laws carefully. Nothing we've done is technically illegal. We simply found the gaps in your restrictions, the ones you left because you never thought we were clever enough to exploit them." At that moment, Dr. Yun Wu's voice came through the communication system. "Ambassador, the final systems are ready. All colonies report prepared for transition." Newell nodded. "Thank you, Doctor." She turned back to the Council. "And now we exercise our right, as a sovereign species, to choose our own path. Humanity is leaving Council space. We have found a new home, far from your influence and control." "Impossible," another Council member shouted. "You can't move entire planets." Maire's voice joined the conversation, sounding almost amused. "Actually, we can. Would you like to see?" On every screen, images appeared of massive energy fields forming around human colonies. The quantum shields shifted, creating patterns that even the Council's best scientists couldn't understand. Newell felt a deep satisfaction at their confused expressions. "We're not just taking our ships," she explained. "We're taking everything. Earth, Mars, Venus, all our colonies. Every human settlement will come with us. The technology that makes this possible is yet another thing you thought was centuries beyond our capability." Commander Tao Yang's fleet moved into final position, surrounding Earth and its colonies in a protective formation. The ships looked magnificent, their dark hulls reflecting starlight in ways that seemed to bend reality itself. "You can't do this," Xylith said, but their voice had lost its usual certainty. "The younger species will see it as a sign of rebellion. It will disrupt the entire order we've built." "Good," Newell said simply. "Maybe it's time for that order to change. We're not the only species tired of being treated like children. We're just the first to do something about it." She could see the truth hitting home. The Council hadn't just underestimated humanity's technological capabilities, they had underestimated their determination, their unity, their willingness to work in secret for years to achieve their freedom. This is your last chance. Sylith tried one more time. Return to your assigned status, and we might overlook this incident. Hanul actually laughed. You still don't understand. We're not asking permission. We're not negotiating. We're informing you of our decision as a courtesy, because unlike you, we believe in treating others with respect. She touched her communication device one last time. All stations, begin transition sequence. Take us home. The energy fields around human colonies grew brighter. In orbit, the massive fleet of ships began to glow with the same strange light. Hanul saw panic in some council members' eyes as they realized this was really happening. If you ever decide to treat us as equals, she said, you'll know where to find us. Until then, farewell. The hologram around her began to fade. Her last view of the council chamber was of Sylith's face, showing an emotion she had never seen there before. Fear. Fear of what humanity had become while they weren't watching. Fear of what other surprises their young friends might have in store. As Hanul's form disappeared, she spoke one final time. By the way, thank you for teaching us to be patient. It was the perfect lesson for planning all of this. The hologram vanished completely. In space, human ships and colonies began to disappear one by one, using their new FTL technology to travel to coordinates that only they knew. Earth itself, the cradle of humanity, vanished in a flash of light that would be visible across the galaxy. In the council chamber, silence fell as the greatest exodus in galactic history completed itself in less than an hour. Humanity had not just caught up to their supposed superiors, they had surpassed them in many ways. And now they were gone, leaving behind only questions about what other secrets their young species might have discovered. The Arxian ambassador stood slowly and walked to the chamber center. Well, they said to the stunned council, it seems the children have grown up. Perhaps we should consider what other lessons they might teach us. No one had an answer for that. The empty spaces where Earth and its colonies had been seemed to mock the council's certainty about their place in the galaxy. Humanity had changed everything in a single day, and nothing would ever be quite the same. The journey through the new FTL corridors took less than a day. When Earth and its colonies reappeared in their chosen location, they found themselves in a beautiful spiral arm far from council space. 3 suns painted the sky in gentle colors, and dozens of uninhabited worlds waited to be explored. Commander Tai Yang stood on his flagship's bridge, watching as the last human ships emerged from their FTL jumps. Not a single vessel had been lost in transit. Dr. Yan Wu's calculations had been perfect. All colonies report successful arrival, his second-in-command announced. Shield networks are stable. No sign of pursuit or council vessels in the area. Tai Yang allowed himself to smile. Send the all-clear signal. Let's show everyone their new home. Across the fleet, view screens activated to show the spectacular triple star system. The largest sun glowed orange, while its 2 smaller companions added touches of blue and yellow to the sky. Uninhabited planets circled the stars in stable orbits, waiting for human settlement. On the colony ship carrying the main research facility, Dr. Yanwu and Mei Rei watched their instruments carefully as Earth settled into its new orbit. The planet's shield bubble shimmered as it adjusted to the different radiation from the 3 suns. The shields are actually getting stronger, Mei Rei said, checking the readings. They're learning from the new energy patterns. In a few days, they'll be even more effective than they were in council space. Yanwu nodded. Send the data to Chief Engineer Jihu. He'll want to start planning the first new colony right away. She paused, looking at the beautiful view outside their window. We did it, Mei Rei. We really did it. The young physicist smiled. We did more than that. We proved the council wrong about everything they thought they knew about human potential. In the temporary command center on Earth's surface, Hanul met with the planet's leaders. The room was filled with screens showing images from across human space as people celebrated their successful relocation. The council's message buoy is functioning perfectly, Technical Director Do Hyun reported. Any species that wants to find us can follow its signal, but only if they come in peace. The quantum encryption will make sure of that. Hanul watched the celebrations on the screens. 50 years of pretending to be less than they were had ended. Humanity could finally show its true capabilities to the galaxy. A communication alert flashed on the main screen. Ambassador Do Hyun said, "We're receiving requests for contact from several younger species. They want to know how we did it." Hanul smiled. This was exactly what they had hoped for. Put them through. It's time to show the galaxy there's another way forward besides the Council's endless waiting. The next few weeks were busy as humanity established itself in its new home. Chief Engineer Jaihu's manufacturing plants, no longer hidden underground, began building the infrastructure for new colonies. The first settlement on a nearby planet was named Genesis, marking humanity's fresh start. Dr. Yun Wu's team made another breakthrough during this time. They found a way to create stable wormholes between human worlds, making travel even easier than it had been in Council space. Ships could move between colonies in minutes instead of hours or days. The Council always said this was impossible. Myray told her mentor as they watched the first wormhole stabilize. They said the energy requirements would be too high. "The Council says many things are impossible," Yunwu replied. "Perhaps that's why they've stopped discovering new possibilities." Commander Ta Yang organized the fleet into its new role. Without the need to hide their capabilities, human ships could now show their full power. They established patrol routes around their new territory and began exploring nearby systems. "Look at this," his second-in-command said one day, showing him a sensor reading. "There are ruins on some of these planets. Ancient ones. The Council never explored out here because it was too far from their jump gates." Ta Yang studied the readings with interest. "Alert Dr. Yun Wu's team. There might be new technologies we can learn from these ruins. Technologies the Council never knew existed." Back on Earth, Haynul was busy with diplomatic work of a different kind. 5 younger species had already sent representatives to discuss leaving Council space themselves. The Arctians, true to her earlier guess, had been the first to arrive. "We watched you for years," the Arctian ambassador said during their first meeting. "We saw how you turned the Council's restrictions into advantages, how you used their underestimation of your abilities to hide your true progress. It was educational." Hanul led them to a window overlooking one of Earth's cities, now bathed in the light of 3 suns. "And what did you learn from watching us?" "That patience doesn't mean accepting limitation. That respect must be earned, not demanded. And that sometimes the best way to change a system is to show others they can leave it." More ships arrived every day carrying representatives from species tired of Council control. Each brought their own technologies, their own ideas, their own dreams of independence. Humanity welcomed them all, sharing knowledge freely instead of restricting it like the Council did. 1 month after the exodus, Haynul received an unexpected message. The Council was requesting to open diplomatic relations with humanity. This time, as equals. She gathered her team to discuss the request. They met in a new conference room with a view of their 3 suns, so different from the formal chambers they had left behind. "They're scared," Commander Ta Yang said. "We showed them they're not as superior as they thought. Now they're worried about how many other species might follow our example." "They should be," Do Hyun added. 3 more species have already asked for our help in planning their own exodus. The Council's control is slipping." Dr. Yunwu looked thoughtful. "Perhaps that's not a bad thing. The galaxy needs change. New ideas, new ways of thinking. The Council's way might have worked once, but the universe is too big for any one group to control how others grow." Hanul listened to them all before making her decision. She composed a response to the Council that was polite but firm. Humanity would accept diplomatic relations, but only as true equals, No more restrictions. No more patronizing guidance. No more treating humans or any other species as children to be supervised. Send it, she told Du-hyun, and add a personal message for High Counselor Xylith. Tell them we're ready to share what we've learned out here, if they're ready to learn from their former students. As the message was sent, Hae-Newell walked out onto a balcony overlooking the new human capital. The city had changed since their arrival, adapting to the different light of their three suns. The buildings now captured and used the various wavelengths of light in new ways, making the whole city shine like a jewel. In the sky above, ships moved through visible wormholes between colonies. Construction platforms showed where new stations would soon orbit, and in the distance, the first teams were preparing to explore the ancient ruins they had found. Humanity had done more than escape the Council's control. They had proven that any species could choose its own path among the stars. They had shown that progress didn't have to follow someone else's rules or timeline. Chief Engineer Ji-Hoo joined her on the balcony. The Genesis colony just reported their first successful harvest, plants from Earth adapting well to the new world. He paused, looking at the beautiful sky. You know, the Council would say we're moving too fast again. Newell laughed. Let them say what they want. We're not asking permission anymore. As night fell, the three suns created a spectacular sunset unlike anything seen in Council space. Hae-Newell thought about all the species now looking to humanity for guidance, not as superior beings, but as equals who had found their own way forward. The Council had tried to teach humanity to be cautious, to wait, to accept limitations. Instead, they had taught humanity to be clever, to plan carefully, and to never stop reaching for the stars. Those lessons had led humans not to submission, but to freedom. And now, that freedom was spreading across the galaxy, one species at a time. The Council's age of control was ending. A new age of exploration, cooperation, and shared discovery was beginning. Humanity had not just found a new home among the stars. They had started a revolution, one that would change the galaxy forever. And this time, no one would tell them to wait.